just brings in primary assignments and leaves out terminated and emeritus and retirement, I believe as well. So they're really more, if you're looking more for just their current assignment and people who are truly being paid or just in a suspended status, then that's where you go.
Okay, that makes sense.
More, but it has more or less all the same fields. Let's see. So the department and department hierarchy. These show the department name. There's a system name in there, and also one that's in the directory. And then what the reporting structure is, which isn't actually used for a whole lot right now, but is going to be used for more in the future as workflows are developed in Koali. We recently went through a project to make sure that our hierarchy matched the KFS hierarchy, so that those can be used in conjunction for workflows for this new push to kind of get away from paper forms that have workflows, and to start using our system hierarchy and to have a Koali product that's going to have forms created in it and go to different people in a structured way. And another bit of that was to identify department managers for a unique department manager for each organization in the university. And so that is being included in department hierarchy now, along with that reporting path again.
So does any of the BFS folks know? I'm pretty sure on the KFS side we call it org code instead of department number. But there's like a supervisor, there's a manager, and a fiscal officer. Does this department manager then align with any of those three?
Not necessarily.
And Joe Sparks is saying no. Okay. So Nick, how do we though align? You said we recently kind of aligned HR department with the KFS org code, so and that hierarchy that exists. So is that fairly well aligned at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
But it sounds like on the KFS side, we're not really using the department manager.
Yeah, I think we started fresh there and had it and made a determination that it wasn't necessarily going to be the same person who's identified as that for financial purposes. So to sort of let departments decide who they wanted to identify, who's the department head, who's the main director, et cetera. And this is more for signature purposes, for salary adjustments and eventually leave reporting and approval, things like that.
And I think we also use it for the automated ODS access request, Kathy. I think we use the supervisor, so there's an automatic, if you request access to HR, it'll go to your immediate supervisor, and then it goes on to the data steward. And I believe it's the HR structure and not KFS.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be even more the case when one of the parts of one of the forms that people are the most interested in changing to an electronically routed form is just general access, just to TMS, to Oracle, to KFS, to everything, to Vista Plus, and this was what that was going to use as well. So, it is 18 months. I was just double checking that. So this current CSU current person uses assignments terminated in the last 18 months, so that is correct. And there's a HIST view. I didn't include it on this one, but so that's what this current employee HIST also uses that terminated in the last 18 months. Education, this comes from the special information on the person record. There are multiple records for each employee, however many are in there, including the institution, degree, year, level, major, minor, and whether that degree is considered terminal for the for the field or not. This is updated by the department, so it's not necessarily completely up to date, but there's actually a lot of information.
What does terminal mean?
So is this considered the final degree? And it's not necessarily, so for instance, in fine arts often, master's is considered the terminal degree. It's what you need in order to become a professor basically, although you can get a PhD obviously. There's some confusion around that I think in CVMBS, for instance, you can have a vet degree and a PhD, and it's not very clear necessarily what should be considered your terminal degree. This matters mostly for if you're running a salary study, for example, you're trying to determine what are your years that you've worked in since the last your most recent terminal degree or your original terminal degree, and so we have that information in there.
Now, does that come from Banner Aries, or is that just in HR?
That's in HR, so that's
Okay.
input by the departments.
Okay.
It's mostly up to date for the faculty.
Yeah, because they're not going to necessarily be a CSU graduate.
Right. Right.
Yeah, there's no automation with degrees there.
Hey, Nick.
Yes.
This is Clint.
Hi.
Hey, in that view, is there any way you guys can add a column that says years since terminal degree? So just take whatever, like if there's a terminal degree in there, flag that says yes, this is a terminal degree, and automatically add the years.
We could consider it.
Okay, 'cause that's something that we have issues with for us over in CVMBS, and I know John Stocking probably might have heard about this too, but sometimes people will want information on how long it's been since the person got a terminal degree. The problem is in our college, you can have a professional degree is also considered the terminal degree as well as a DVM. So I don't know which one you guys flag on for there, but I know we've done some reports in Authority where people have asked us to say how many years since terminal degree, so they can do some salary analysis on that.
I guess we wouldn't know how to calculate that though. If somebody has 2 terminal degrees in there, that's kind of the point, is that we don't know what the individual fields consider to be the true terminal degree.
Is there a flag in where you're getting this from that says this is their terminal degree, like yes or no?
Yes, but it's not unique. So you could have 2 records, you could have 2 degrees in there that are considered terminal.
And this is where we get into issues too, and that's why I was saying, if there was a way to just say, okay, if there's 2 terminal degrees, then take the max terminal degree. I mean, it's that, we run into the same problem too. That's why I was trying to figure out if you guys could figure out a way to do it. So, just something to think about.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that would be universally agreed upon, I guess, if it's not always necessarily that people consider their earliest terminal degree to be the true terminal degree, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Okay.
So,
does anybody know much about this view? I honestly don't know. I wrote down some things about the different fields in there. It seems like it was used for a very specific purpose.
Maybe just go and pull it up real quick.
I can show the fields, I can't pull up the.
Yeah, just open
Is there anybody from facilities here?
Is that what that is?
I think it might be facilities too. There's one they
Oh, okay.
used
Okay.
from their stainless
Does
system.
anybody in the room use it?
that. No?
Okay.
Facilities might be.
Interesting. It seems like a contact view, specifically built, but it's in this general picture.
Just by that, they have that famous system, I think they call it. It looks like the FMIS might be their system, that's why.
Oh, okay.
It's Jerry Dial might be somebody to ask if they still need that.
And they do a lot of staffing.
She retired.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she did.
Okay, let's ask Jerry.
Who was that?
Terry Kyle.
Okay. That's good to know, because I was going to check.
And Debbie, we do have famous space views in ODS, but I don't think that it has. Kathy, are you familiar with the famous space view? Does it have employees in there? Because it would show their physical location, but it wouldn't get.
Space views is only on, like, the buildings and rooms and numbers and stuff like that.
Right, so it wouldn't have some of this
It's not
information.
correlated to a person in the space views.
Okay.
But this might,
Could be something to do with
We
the
can,
key
uh,
system or.
yeah, we
I
might be
don't
able to
know.
contact famous, maybe it was created for famous people
Back when.
way back when, so we'll see if they're still using it.
But even just because it comes from the famous system doesn't mean we don't have it for the entire university. Because we would have all the buildings and such from famous in ODS. So.
Oh, well, the other thing we might be able to check is if the mobile app is using this. I don't know if the mobile app is using it or not. It's using mobile. We'll check with the web team, see it. 'Cause I know they had something out there where they were checking, rooms for their GPS thing for the mobile, tell you where
Mhm.
classes are.
Job and job count. This, does anybody use this?
Sometimes.
Yeah. I'm not sure why this exists. It seems like it gives current details of each assignment that the person has. So it may, I think it's essentially related to this current person, but it limits to just today and what the statuses are for today. Seems like unnecessary to have a whole view like that. And then there's CSU job count, which is the same, but it includes, there are multiple lines for each assignment because it includes the labor distribution. And that's the labor distribution accounts that are tied to the assignment currently, not anything like actuals. It's just what's on the assignment in terms of the percentage breakdown of the accounts. And I found, have you noticed this, that the salary that's, the most recent salary on the assignment doesn't seem to be reliable?
I haven't used that for a long time.
Good.
Either one of those, but.
I think it's got
Probably
issues.
why.
I think a number of years ago, it probably was maintained, and now maybe it's not.
I'm not sure. It seems to be, I found a case where it seemed to be pulling the wrong salary, but I didn't have a whole lot of time to follow up with that. But again, there's some things in here I'd like to totally retool with the data governance group. And that would be one. And then this assignment extra info, this is a special information field that it looks to me, as far as I can tell, only CVMBS uses it. And it's used to identify work units. So I can't see any reason why anybody else would ever want it.
Clint, do you guys know if you use this assignment extra info?
Yeah, we do. It's to tell where people are at the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I don't think.
yeah, I'm pretty sure if you guys wanted, at some point in time when you were retooling all this, if it could just be added, to one of the other views. I think we requested that, and we requested, some, column in one of the views about licenses for, people at the hospital to be licensed, they have to do it for so many years. Regulatory thing we have to do. But yeah, that was requested by us probably 4 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
But we use it.
Okay. And then there's an assignment view that just shows current assignments, or associate assignments, excuse me. And then there are other HR views, but I think most of these are, so the private views, the ethnicity, race, gender, address views, so these are generally not considered part of the general HR views that people get access to for special purposes. But that's about it. So, are there any general questions people have, or specific questions or other, we could use this opportunity if there's anything else that you want to see specifically from the HR views in ODS that you're not getting now, or anything else that's wildly confusing about it.
Clint, you guys maintain a lot of reports in authority. Are you guys using a lot of these views, some of these views?
Yeah, we're using the majority of them. We're using job account, assignment extra info, education we join in, department we join into a lot of stuff. If you scroll up on your list of, there you go. Current person is one, distribution we use, job account month we use. I mean, those are our main ones. So yeah, we've got, like, I mean, some people on this meeting probably know we break ours down into a couple different levels, and then we also join all this stuff over to the financial side of things too. So, but our HR usually does general salary, and then you have your restricted, which gives you your ethnicity and gender and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we take these and we break them down, but.
So Clint, you pull all this into your database. How do you make it secure so that people only see what they're supposed to see?
So we have on the back end, we can actually, in authority, we can limit it down and to what columns are a permission. So for example, like gender, ethnicity, military status, that kind of stuff, we've said those are restricted. So we do like a giant view and we say, okay, these ones you have to have this permission to get these columns that are restricted. And we could even do it one step further on top of that to say, even if you have restricted, you can only see it if it's in, you know, whatever it may be, whether it's, you know, we can do it by department, we can do it by supervisor, we can do it by, you know, you name it. So, and we can more or less lock this down, I mean, probably even tighter than the ODS, I would say, but, I mean, by column, even by individual cell, we can do stuff, so.
Is it a can or a do?
No, we do it.
Okay.
We currently do it.
It's
Yeah,
what I-
I guess
we have a report that generates every night that tells us who has access to restricted data, and those people, if there's a new one that comes up, it'll pop up on our report, and then what we normally do is we'll reach out to whoever the data steward is for that area and say, were you the one that gave this access out, just FYI, and they say no, then we go through the process of trying to figure out how, but I don't think we've never had a breach like that so far.
Yeah, so one question I have for you, Nick, and, sorry, Clint, and Nixon here. One thing that we came across is when we were working on stuff with other departments, so for instance, that DGM stuff, there was some information from HR that was needed, and kind of bit us because we didn't actually include Nick on the conversation as far as giving the information. And it came back that the information that was requested should never have gone over there, which we didn't give it to them, but, so do you guys include HR in your conversations as far as who should have access to what data? Because we didn't at first, and it was a bad mistake.
So this kind of goes back to before Nick even came here, when it was Carol Lee and Chris. You know, we had talked about decentralizing the access for HR data when it came to salary and restricted data. And the conversation more or less came to conclusion on what we would do is we would provide the people within the departments, i.e. the people who sign off on all the data requests, so all the data stewards or the people that actually go in and set up the access and authority, to be able to allow people underneath them to have the ability to get access. So, for example, in CBMBS, you know, John Stocking can go out and give out restricted access to people that are below him. But at the end of the day, it's John's responsibility to make sure that he, you know, doesn't give out access to just everybody that wants to have restricted. You know, we had on there, and I think we still do, Diana Prieto to be able to sign off on some of this stuff, but we haven't had anybody I can see in recently that has asked for restricted access for gender, ethnicity, that kind of stuff?
Usually it's somebody that does it by mistake. They want it on the form, so they send it to their local authority administrator. They contact us and say, I can't set this person up. Well, there's a reason there's only 10 individuals currently, I think, at the university that can even see that secure part of ethnicity or gender. And when Diana came on board, she actually reviewed all of that, and there's an authority report that goes to Kathy Reiner that shows on a monthly basis who has access, so they can review that.
So Nick, I think being on the data governance committee, I think the data governance committee is going to scrutinize some of this. Why maintain this virtual private directory restriction in the ODS just to open up the floodgates, send it all to the authority, and then they have to maintain it over there. So I think this is a conversation that will get followed up on. But for right now, I mean, that's what we've been living with for many years, because as Clint and Missy said, they've been doing this before Nick and maybe even Diana.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I hate to say this, but, I think you, along with Bob and some other people, know that authority is, depending on what the decision is on the next data tool that's going to happen, is coming to an end. So, I mean, that's something that you guys, I guess, need to talk about on how that access is going to be granted for the next system. So.
And we barely touched base on this in the last meeting where we talked about the number of roles that we use at the university. And, Nick, in all fairness, we talked about some ODS roles, which limit and control the access to the data. And we didn't even get into this authority layer. So, and that would be potentially multiple roles as well. But.
Right. I wasn't aware that authority had tied into the private data. So.
Yeah.
I mean, this data, the race, ethnicity.
There's a couple areas where we kind of open the floodgates. I think with CSU Online, we may open up the floodgates. Is that right? Or
We only access finance and student data today.
Okay.
HR at all.
Okay, so we don't open it up for that. But for the, help me out with the FSAS digital measures system, we open up the floodgates there to.
I found out about the floodgates.
Nick Kabosh, the floodgates. Okay.
So I guess my question for you guys would be, so every year we have this national survey that's, I mean, it's a combination of, I think, 20 different surveys that we have to do access, or we have to get information for. I mean, what are you guys thinking in the future on how that's gonna work? I mean, if I don't get access, do I go to you guys for 20 different reports and say, hey, here's 20 different reports, and they need it sliced out by gender, ethnicity, by faculty member, by FTE, by, job title, everything like that? Like, how does that work?
I work with quite a few colleges on reports like that already. And so if it's something that is done regularly, then we can figure out a way to report it regularly. But I think that there are certain data elements that are protected enough that we can work out a way to report them centrally, even though it's more work for us.
Okay, man.
I mean, and I'm not saying that we're going to do that today, but in re-architecting all this, I think that would be the long view.
Okay. I just, if you guys are willing to take that on, that's one less thing that we have to worry about. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's fine by us.
Clint, that was something that was, the FSAS system was wanting in there to keep in there so they can do the exact same reporting, and that's why Nick was informed of that, and they're doing it for them, so that it's not to be in the FSAS system at all.
Kathy, what is that system? It's the faculty.
Faculty staff activity system.
Okay, but it's really more faculty related than staff, right?
Well, one of the departments, or one of the colleges, I think Ag Sciences wants to put all of their staff in there.
Oh,
And essentially, each staff member then gets their own page where they, I don't know, it has contact information and some of their basic assignment details, and then,
It does their performance reviews, and so that's one area where they can collect information. So yeah, they brought their staff into it as well in Ag Sciences.
right, but most of the colleges are just using it for faculty,
Right.
because it's really about research, history, and
Yeah, maintaining
conferences
CV
and-
information and,
Yeah,
right.
right. So I think, I don't know what all their people are gonna do with their own page for all the staff, but that's what they did.
Yeah, so I guess one thing to learn that we've learned is, if you want any HR data, you can't come directly to us, you have to actually request it from Nick first, and then Nick will request it of us.
Yes. And we do, I mean, we try to keep, what's that?
If it's not general.
Right, if it's not.
In the general view. Oh,
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I write a ton of queries for people, especially for ongoing projects. Even if it's gonna happen annually, we'll write a very good query for it and verify it, and then we'll run it when it's needed, or turn it into a report. And it's, you know, it's a lot of work, but for certain things in HR, we found that it's a nice way of controlling it. It's a nice way, you know, we know our data really well, and so we're getting pretty good at writing these reports. Now, we like people using the ODS for their own purposes, but for certain things, especially for anything protected, where we're aggregating data, we do quite a bit of report writing ourselves in HR.
so Nick, let me, so Oracle, the HR system that we have, the EBS system, that has a component called Oracle Report. So it sounds like you guys kind of help people customize reports, and then if it's a commonly used report, you actually implement it into the Oracle Report system. And so that's all on the HR side, and it doesn't even make it into ODS.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. There are lots of reports currently that department HR staff can access in reports and requests, or requests and processes in there.
So that's potentially something we
Responsibilities.
could visit that as the data governance committee is, you know, do we want to keep splitting this, because then we're requiring people to get into getting authorized into both systems, and maybe, you know, we want to shift and say, no, all new reports really need to be campus-wide reports that fit, you know, into ODS, so we can share it across campus a little better. And I don't know if that's the right answer, but I mean, right now we have a bunch of reports in Oracle reports as well as ODS.
Yeah, and a lot of the ones that are in Oracle are they're operational, so they aid the work of people who actually touch Oracle and do complete actions in Oracle.
Right.
But some of them aren't, so.
But then we can't join it with like student data,
Right.
or facilities data or whatever,
Right.
foundation data. I don't know if we do that.
Nick, I have a quick question. If I was to, I have a little report that I'm working on, and, well, it's not little, it's for the USDA,
Mhm.
and I need to take a look at each research account that we've identified as related to furthering the animal health and disease mission, the staffing, what was actually paid last year, and then I'll have a name as the in the description of who was paid.
Mhm.
And then I need to say what position that person is and
Mhm.
classify it into like a professional or a clerical role or whatever. And then we divide by a generic number to get FTEs, and then we report that back to the agency. If I wanted to do that today, because we're reporting across the campus, what is the quickest way for me to just take a list of names that I know already were paid on accounts and just find out what their title is?
What their title is.
Where would I go? Or can I not?
Doesn't,
Probably,
It might be an expense history.
doesn't CSU current person have the title? No?
It does.
It
If we
does,
have
but
access
that's
to it
a
before
lot
campus
of
hires
access.
from another college, then we may not see those.
Right.
Is that considered, restricted information?
Well, it's got salary and visas, so it's,
I meant
If it was stripped, if I just asked what their current
oh.
title
mhm.
is, that's all I wanna know.
I think that's fine. I wouldn't think that that's a.
So how would I get that information today?
It's a good question.
But she wouldn't be able to because she'd only have access to that for her department. So, you know, in authority, they have all departments there. In an ODS, we have all departments, but you would be restricted or limited to just your department.
So I have to do this by Friday, so don't send the list to you.
Contacted me, yeah, basically, and that's what I'm talking about. If there's certain information.
That's
that
the answer you
stripped out
wanted.
and provided, I can do that, so.
By Friday?
Yeah,
Is
sure.
the CSU directory, is it CSUG directory, is that a public
Yeah.
view? I mean, I think that has titles in it.
Yeah,
If you're looking for current,
I think
like
it
active
has
people.
AP, but not
I think
research
that should-
scientist.
Directory, not directory EID, or is it?
No, it's directory all or something.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's
not
on
on the-
it's on the banner.
It's CSUG. Yeah.
But that's banner. Everybody in HR is not in
Well,
banner.
CSUG, it just.
No,
happens to be
it can be, Joe. We
one.
tried to marry them together, yeah. Just like we try to,
Do you have access to the student directory?
Because everybody does have an email.
Okay, you can check
Right,
it first, and
right,
then if
yeah.
not, contact Nick, and then Nick will be working on a generic view for us.
Right.
So I guess, you know.
It should have everyone in it. That's the
director.
So Nick,
Everyone-
could you pull up expense history real quick and just work it out the over and down? So you've got,
There's not a lot on
I thought it
Job
said
classes,
maintenance.
so I see.
So that's where you could use the job class here. That job, it has a job description and the job. And class code.
Shalanda journey.
job class.
I'm working on a special HR review.
I don't know if job class is, that's the code,
That's the code, but I don't see job title.
or people group.
Yeah, he's,
Yeah.
yeah, he's.
Say no, see
Yeah.
there. Oh, it does have me now. That's not department. But it's missing people group.